This is what it should say all the time, right, on air. So if you ever notice it bumping off, like stopping, let me know. Because that's what's been happening. Anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna do another land transfer tax. We did the example on page 37, in all of them in page 37. So I'm gonna make one up. You can either just watch me and just follow along, or you can work through it with me. So I'm going to do, maybe I'll do two, one less than 200,000 and one more than 200,000. I actually think the ones less than 200,000 are harder because you have to know where to stop, right, in the chart. So I'm going to do another example of land transfer tax. I'll do two more. Okay. So let's pick on Crystal. Crystal bought a house. Crystal bought a house valued at, all right, I want to pick a number between 0 and 200. Mike, give me a cost of a house between 0 and 200,000.
178,000.
178,000? Okay. Thank you. So, bought a house valued at 178,000. All right? So, we want to calculate the land transfer tax. I did just mention to a couple of the students that I think this is one of the harder things that we have to do in this course. So if I look, 178,000, if I look at my chart, this chart goes up to 200,000. If the house is only worth 178, I'm not going to use every single entry in this chart. Does that make sense? Because this house price isn't up to 200,000. So I'm going to have to stop somewhere in the middle here, and I don't know exactly where, but we'll figure it out. So I need the first 30,000, agreed? The first 30,000 is free of tax. So it's just multiplied by 0. Right? I just include that in my chart so I can keep my running total. All right, the next 60,000. Do I need this whole 60,000? I see a couple of nods. Why do you say yes?
So you're not yet at 100.
Yeah, I'm not at, and I'm always doing like a running total. And if anyone's got a better system for doing this, please let me know. But I'm kind of subtotaling all the time. I'm just up to 90,000 right now, right? The 30 plus 60, and I have to get up to 178. Okay, we could do it this way. We could do these numbers first and then doing the multiplying later. Why don't we do that? Because the multiplying, I just have to pull these numbers off the chart.
Aren't the first three numbers always the same, 0, 300, 600?
Yes, if you use all three levels. Yeah, and that's another good thing to keep in mind. The hard part for me is when you're coming in the middle like this, right? Like where do you stop? Do I need the next 60,000? Okay, I see a big strong yes. So I'm going to trust you guys. The next 60,000 brings me 60, 60, 120, brings me up to 150, right? Okay, now the next category is $50,000 more. If I put 50,000 here, I'm going to be up to 200. That's too much, right? So I don't want, I'm going to put down the last because it's the last amount of money I need. Now, once again, the last category goes up to 50,000. I'm just putting this in pencil. I can't use that much because it would tip me over, right? So how much extra do I need? I'm up to 50,000. I need 28 more. I need $28,000 more. Okay, so that's my last category. Let's do a quick double check. So I know I have 150. So 30 and 60 and 60 and 28 gives me 178,000, right? I'm just checking. This is my check. Okay, so now I got that. So now I'm going to just do all multiplying numbers. And as Mike said, these numbers, if you're using them, stay the same all the time, right? My 0.005, my 0.01, and then my last category is 0.015. numbers, if you've done these questions enough, you know they stay, like it's 300, 600. This one's gonna be different though, so I have to do my 28,000, let's show you my calculator. 28,000 times 0.015, and that gives me $420. Okay, so I'm gonna add these up. 1320 is the land transfer tax. Oops. Okay. So, you good? Ladies? Yeah. Should we do one more that's over 200? Okay, we'll do one more over 200. Someone give me a really expensive house. 300? 300 even Steven?
No.
350? Okay. So, Sadie bought a house. Worth 350,000. Calculate the land transfer tax. That's my shorthand. Okay, this one, because our chart only goes up to 200,000, right? Just gonna move this for a sec. This is going to go off the charts. Oops, sorry guys, hang on. Right? So the chart only goes up to 200,000. This, if it's, let me just fold this in half. Sadie's house of 350,000 is going to go past 200,000, right? Agreed?
Yeah.
So I'm going to use every single one of these categories. So the ones that are more expensive are actually in some ways to me easier to deal with because you know you're going to use all the categories, right? So I'm going to use the first 30,000. I'm going to use the next 60,000. And the next 60,000. And the next 50,000. And this brings me, does someone have this number memorized? I've got 120, 150, this brings me up to 200,000, right? Now, this is my last category because the chart only uses these, and then this last category is anything over and above 200,000. How much extra do I have? 150, and that's 350, and take out the 200 that I already have accounted for, and that gives me 150,000, right? And let's do a check. We're checking here. And if I add all these numbers up, I'm going to get 350,000, the cost of my house. Okay, times 0, times 0.005, times 0.01, times 0.015, times 0.02. So this will, if you use the full amount, this will always give you 300. This will always give you 600. What does this one always give you?
3,000.
Okay, so the last one is 3,000? That's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Notice the more expensive a house you buy, the more you're going to pay in land transfer tax. I don't know if that really makes sense, because all they're literally doing is just transferring a piece of paper over from the old owner to the new one, right? So it's the same physical process, but that's what they do. Okay, so we get a whacking land transfer tax bill of $4,380.
And decide not to buy those.
Where does the what? Oh, what did I do wrong? Okay, 300 plus 600 plus 750. Did I do something wrong? 4,650, yeah. I don't know what I did there. My fingers slipped again. 4,650, is that what you got, Candace? Okay. Sorry about that. 4,650. So take it slow, just like any chart with numbers in it and rates, you'll always be given this, right? You won't be given the process, that's something that you would have to know how to do on the test, but you're always given these numbers. Any last questions about this? We've got a couple of days to review before the test, so make sure when we have review time that you ask myself or Jane like how to do this, or one of your colleagues in class. There's lots of people who are willing to help in this class, which is nice. Okay, are you ready to do the last, it's actually on the flip, it's actually on the page before, page 36. Are we ready to tackle the last two numerical questions then of this whole unit? This is the last math stuff that you'll have to do in this unit. We like math though.
Oh, no, I like math. This is long.
This has been a long haul. You know what? This is the longest unit though, so once we get past this one, they'll all be a lot shorter. All right, so let's talk about two other costs. Once again, if we just review, because it feels like the weekend's been so long, which is nice. All of these are just explanation costs. You don't have to do any calculating in this class for mortgage application fee. You just have to be able to list a couple of these and explain them like as extra charges. The math costs that you'll have to calculate though are property insurance and property tax. Both of these are adjustments or reimbursements. One's technically called an adjustment in legal terms, and one is a reimbursement, but the calculations are the same. So we're actually going to read through what these entail so that makes sense for what we're calculating. So for property insurance, that was lesson 4. Remember when I said that in Canada you can't buy a house unless you insure it? So we're not talking about tenants insurance right now, we're talking about property insurance. Typically, what you do is you sign up for insurance annually. So once a year your insurance comes due, just like Autopac, and you have to put it on that insurance date. So what happens is, like my house insurance comes due in November. So every November 1st I have to pay my insurance for the year. Makes sense, right? Because you get insured per year. What happens if I sell my house though? So I insure myself from November to November. What happens if I decide I want to move and I want to sell my house in June? Do you see the potential, not problem, but the issue here? If I sell my house in June, let's say, and I don't even buy another house. Let's say I just decide to go travel the world for a while and not even live permanently anywhere. I've paid my insurance for a year, but I'm not going to live in my house for the year. So what happens is I've paid too much, right? I don't really owe for the whole year if I move out of my house in June. So I get my money back. Make sense? Right? And what happens usually is the house will still stay insured, but the new owner will take on my insurance. So technically then they owe me a little bit of property insurance. The insurance company doesn't give me the money back. It's kind of funneled back to me through all the legal and closing costs. And again, it's something handled by the lawyers, which also brings to light why legal fees are so important. Because remember the legal fees down here? That is another cost that's handled between the lawyers. They do all these little calculations between me and the old owners, and the same thing's going to happen for property tax. Okay? So again, property tax is paid for the year, the whole year. If I move midway through a year, I get my property tax back that I technically don't owe anymore. So both of these are sort of the same thing. You get reimbursed. So let's do the first one. A financial institution will require you to have insurance. We know that. But if you have previous insurance coverage, new coverage will result in an increase or decrease. So what's going to happen here? Let's just do this property insurance adjustment first. The Chartrand family just bought a new house. They had insurance on their old house, but they need to make sure the new house is covered. So they're moving from one property to another. Their insurance will increase from $600 to $720 per year. If they move into their new home on October 1st, calculate how much extra they have to pay the insurance company. So this is a little different. They're moving from one house to the other, right? But they want to stay insured for the whole year. The problem is their old house was only, the property was only worth $600, or whatever insurance they had, $600 was enough. The new house is obviously worth more, so they have to bump up their insurance. So they're going to owe more. Agreed? But they only owe more for, let's see, how many, I guess we're going to assume January to January because they don't tell us anything else. So they will owe more money per year. How much more will they owe per year? 120, right? 720 more per year. 120 more per year. Moving forward, but for this year, 120 more. But for the current year, they only owe it's 3 months, right, Nicole?
Yes.
3 months. How'd you get the 3 months?
October.
Yeah.
Minus
Yeah.
7.
If they're moving in October, we're going to assume, if you're not told otherwise, you're going to assume they're paying their insurance January 1st to January 1st. That's not always the way it goes, but that's what we'll assume. So the 3 months were for October, November, and December. Okay, so they shouldn't owe another 120 more for this whole year. They only owe for 3 months. Any idea how I do the calculation for just 3 months? So I'll take this is the annual cost, right? So I'll take their annual amount per year, divide by 12, right? And what does that give us? $10 per month? $10 per month?
For 3 months, it's $30.
Yeah. And then times 3 for 3 months. $30 more. Or maybe I'll say $30 is the property insurance adjustment.
Oh, we do. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the amount that will be transferred between the insurance company in this case, because they're just staying with the same insurance company. They're just transferring their policy over to their new house. So you figure out how much more, turn it into a monthly cost, and times it by the number of months. If they moved, how about if they moved in on July 1st? How many months would that be? They moved into their new house July 1st.
5.
But if they move July 1st, they have to pay the whole month of July. July, August, September, October, November, December, 6 months, right? So that's it. What if, this could happen too, what if their insurance dropped? Maybe they moved to a smaller house or a condo. A lot of people, especially when they hit retirement age and all the kids move out, they downsize. Have you heard of that term before? They move from the big family house to a small house and then they want to travel. So in that case, their insurance probably will flip, they'll go from paying $720 a year to only paying $600. So you do the same thing. You just calculate the monthly cost, times it by the number of months, but this time you're not paying that, they get it back, they get it refunded. Okay, so that can happen too. So that's not a difficult calculation, right? Figure out the extra, turn it to monthly, and just times it by the number of months. And the same thing's going to happen with property tax, except this time, instead of dealing with the insurance company, you're dealing with the owners, right? You're dealing, the new owners are going to owe you some property tax money. Sorry?
The previous question.
This one?
121, so where did it come? The first 120.
Here. Okay, it came from their amount jumped from 600 to 720. So 720 take away 600 was 120.
720 take away 600.
720 minus 600 is 120. Okay, so this time it just says property tax has to be paid. We know this already. So if the previous owners have already paid the property tax for the year, you will be responsible for reimbursing them. Okay, so in a nutshell, new owners might, depending on how the whole tax thing works out, might owe the old owners some property tax money. It depends on when you move, right? When the property tax was due. So if the old owners have paid the whole year's tax and you move in halfway, you've got to reimburse them for the amount that they paid for you, okay? Again, this is all lumped in that phrase called closing costs. These are all the little things that have to be calculated in addition to the purchase price of the house. So let's read this last example. Property tax reimbursement. The Eddy family just bought a new house. The previous owners paid $2,400 in property tax for the entire year, right? So this is what we call, this is the annual amount, right? These are the annual taxes. But the Eddy family move into their new home on May 1st. Calculate the amount of property tax reimbursement, so the amount of tax that the Eddys owe. So the amount of tax the Eddy family owes okay, well, how many months are they going to live in the new home? They will live in the new house. You said 8 months, your Kanish? Let's see, if they moved in May 1st, they're going to live the whole month of May, right? May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 8 months. Okay, so same thing, we can take our annual amount, we divide by 12. I could do it all in one step, right? If I divide it by 12, I get the monthly cost, agreed? And then what happens if I get the monthly cost? I'm just going to times by 8. Okay. So I get an amount of $1,600. Is the tax owed by the Eddys? So once again, this amount will be added on to the purchase price, and then the lawyers will say, okay, well, you guys owe another $1,600 to the old owners. So basically, find the annual or the monthly cost. You're given annual amounts. Property insurance and property tax will always be given to you, like the annual amounts. Calculate what it will be monthly and just times by the right number of months that they're actually in the home. So compared to land transfer tax, this is quite straightforward, I think. This will allow you to finish up the assignment. So I'm going to flip over. So it will allow you to finish up assignment 7. Agreed? We will talk a little bit about assignment 8 in class tomorrow. 8 are other homeowner issues, which is just as important as calculating, but it's going to be easier because these are discussion questions. And there are a few questions for practice assignment 8, and then I'll give you some time. So we've got 2 days to review and finish off this unit, which I think puts us in good shape. Test will be Thursday. So again, I think you've got lots of time to practice up and make sure you ask questions of me or Jane or someone else to get all your confusions cleared up, get your study sheets up to date and useful for you for the test Thursday. Okay? So I'll give you the rest of the class to finish up